And welcome back. Let's see here. Ivory in Oroville, California. Hey, Ivory, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I just been watching a lot of things about universal basic income and how there's an emerging technology, and they say it's going to be in the next revolution, and they call it AI technology. So this is going to be the next wave of
As in artificial intelligence, you mean?
yes, and they say this is going to take 47% of our jobs within 20 years. So with the universal basic income, I'm wondering if you've heard of that, and would it be a good idea to implement
Yes.
to curb the jobs that are going to be taken in our near future, you know?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of interest in this because I'm young, I'm in college right now, and my future is right there, and whatever happens, my future goes along with that. So what do you think about universal income?
I think universal basic income is a really good idea. And, Switzerland just voted it down, but it was a fairly generous one that they were talking about $30,000 to $35,000 a year, basically. I think it might have been 35,000 that they voted down. But there's one that's coming up in one of the Canadian provinces. I think Saskatchewan, or is it Alberta? Quebec? I'm not. Yeah, Troy's going to look it up. But one of them is got a UBI, Universal Basic Income. It's Ontario. Okay, thank you, Troy. That's going to be on the ballot. Any idea when? Oh, they're trying it in 3 cities right now. So, I think Ivory. I think this is one of the ways to deal with it, to deal with this problem. And in fact, I was going to riff on that this morning. In fact, I'll get to it, right after the break. But and I know that Lila Connors and Matthew Schmidt are working on a movie on universal basic income. I've contributed some stuff for that, so a documentary. So a lot of possibilities out there. I think it's something. It's like, if the country is wealthy enough, then it should provide for everybody in the country to have a basic standard of living before it goes to the next step of saying, okay, and we're going to make sure that the rich get richer and all this kind of stuff. And it eliminates an awful lot of confusing, patchwork quilt of social safety net stuff. Make sense, Ivory?
Yeah. Because if you think about it, with all this automation and stuff happening, all of these people who are employing all these people aren't going to have to pay these workers, or
Right.
they're not going to have to pay workers. They're just going to have to buy the machine, and then the machine does the work, and then after that, it's all profit.
Right. And we've been watching this happen ever since the invention of the steam engine in the late 1700s and the widespread deployment of it in the early 1800s. And the cotton gin, I think that was 1830, might be a little earlier or later than that, but my recollection is that it was right around then. And with one cotton gin, you could have one machine do the work of 50 people, and it was work that had previously been done by slave labor in the South. And there is an argument out there that diminution in the need for labor was one of the things that put a major crack in slavery that led to, in some part, the Civil War. Whether that's a cogent argument or not, I can't speak to it. I'm not a Civil War scholar. Anyhow, Ivory, thanks for the call. You probably never heard of William Baumol, B-A-U-M-O-L. He recently died at the age of 95. George Will, of all people, wrote a column about him back in May 17th in the Washington Post. It's titled "An Old Disease That Could Help Lawmakers Understand Today's Healthcare Debate." I'm going to take this out of the healthcare realm. Well, actually, even in George Will's piece, I mean, basically, what Anthony Baumol pointed out when he was an aide to Daniel Patrick Moynihan, and he spent his teaching career at Princeton University and New York University, et cetera. He postulated, I'm quoting George Will, Baumol postulated a cost disease afflicting labor-intensive service industries, productivity will often increase not at all or much slower in some sectors, like nursing, teaching, the performing arts, than in the overall economy. And, he used the example of, okay, in the 1700s, it would take, a minute to play Mozart's Minute Waltz. Today, it takes a minute to play Mozart's Minute Waltz. It takes the same number of people, the same amount of time. I mean, you could argue that you can play it off a CD on your iPhone too, but that's kind of mixing apples and oranges because we're talking about the employment market, not the consumer market. Similarly, Daniel Patrick Moynihan pointed out, Montefiore Hospital was founded in New York City in the 1880s. At that time, he said, how long did it take a professor of medicine to make his morning rounds, and how many interns did he take with him? And the dean said, it'd take about an hour and say 12 interns. And Moynihan said, and today? And the dean was like, got it. In other words, it's the exact same. So in service industries, what you find is that over time, productivity does not increase dramatically, although it is helped. In manufacturing, productivity does increase dramatically, but the need for labor diminishes. And so what we've seen as we've deindustrialized the United States, and as China and India have hyper-industrialized, and Germany has maintained its industrial base, what we see in the countries that are deindustrializing, the United States, France, you see high levels of either unemployment or misemployment, malemployment, people who are working for a fraction of what they think they're worth or what, in other circumstances in the labor market, they might actually be worth. And so then comes the question, what do you do about this? And we'll talk about that after the break. But anyhow, a lot going on in the world. Your calls on pretty much any topic you want to talk about, feel free to give us a shout today, 202-808-9925. We'll be right back. Stick around.